Let's go now to Cairo, where the Arab League is holding an emergency session on the latest violence in the Gaza Strip. The Palestinian Authority called the meeting and Saudi Arabia is chairing it. The meeting is in relation to last Friday's clashes between Palestinian protesters and Israeli forces. At least 15 Palestinians were killed by Israeli forces during what was called by demonstrators a March of Return to mark the Israeli land appropriation of 1976. Tens of thousands marched. More than 700 were wounded. Israel's use of live ammunition has widely triggered an outcry, but the army insists it's adhered to the rules of engagement. Well, let's get to an update now on that story. I'm joined live from the Arab League headquarters in Cairo by CGTN's Adel Al-Marouki. Adel, can you just give us an update as to what's been happening so far at that emergency session?
It is a meeting on the delegates level, the permanent delegates level here in Cairo. Just a few minutes ago, the representatives from the Arab states have given their opening speech about and condemned, all of them have condemned the Israeli attack, what they describe as the excessive use of brutal force. The harshest statement came from Lebanon, who described the recent tension and attacks as a massacre against Palestinians, and they've all called to start looking beyond having statements of condemnation and try to provide an actual platform that would create change and create peace, a platform that would give the Palestinians their own independent state and end the Arabs' longest existing conflict.
And indeed, just the fact that this meeting is happening at all and the strong statements of condemnation, an indication of how important this issue is to the Arab League. But perhaps just expand on that for us, Adel. How much of a concern is this latest violence in Gaza for Arab nations?
It is very alarming to most Arab countries, particularly those who live on the borders with the occupied territories, Jordan and Egypt specifically, along with, of course, Lebanon and Syria. These are the most countries concerned with the Palestinian crisis, or have been at least for the past decades. It reflects the possibility of having more instability in their borders if the situation gets worse and Palestinians start to face further violence from the Israelis. They might resort to the borders. There might be excessive movement on the borders in and out from these countries, namely Egypt and Jordan. So this is one of the main concerns. What's most alarming to all Arab countries is that it threatens the continuation and the hope of resuming the peace process. And this is something that most Arabs have been keen to resolve. The Palestinian crisis, after the Arabs have seen the escalation in terrorism and militant insurgency, the rise of ISIL and the instability seen in Libya, Syria and Yemen, many Arab countries now believe that if the Palestinian crisis is resolved, then all of these issues would gradually fade away. So they have to reconsider and put back the Palestinian crisis on top of their priorities. And this is what actually the Arab League has been planning to do, and this is what is believed to be discussed and Arab leaders will be discussing later this month during their Arab League's annual summit that will be held in Saudi Arabia.
Adel Al-Marouki, thank you so much for that update. Joining us there in Cairo from the Arab League headquarters, where members of the Arab League have very strongly condemned the violence against Palestinians.